Hey guys, this is Pestily and welcome to another Escape from Tarkov video. In this video I'm going to cover gear fear, all the ins and outs, why we have it, how to avoid it and combat it, and eventually how you'll overcome and be able to just use any gear and not really worry about dying too much. So without further ado, let's crack straight into it. So gear fear is a very common term within Escape from Tarkov. It's generally based around the fact that you're too afraid to take in expensive gear because you're going to die and you'll never get to use it again. A lot of people will have items sitting in their stash for probably weeks, if not months, because they just don't want to use the gear because they just literally do not want to lose it. It's like, yes, I got this, finally got this good M4, so it's now going to sit in my stash and it's going to look pretty, and one day I'll use it when I'm more confident at the game. The problem is you never get that confident at the game, or it takes so long that there's been a wipe or something else has happened and you no longer have that gun anyway, and so you just wasted that stash space. A very common saying that a lot of us used a while ago, I haven't actually heard it for a while, for quite a while now, but was if there's an item sitting in your stash for a long period of time, you might as well just sell it because it's just wasting your space. Unless it's some like iconic, memorable item, you know, from a great fight, and you want to have it in there to remind you or something like that, or if it's something like that, that's fair. But if you're literally just hoarding these items for the fact that you're too afraid to use them, you're better off just selling them off and having that more stash space. Now, I'm sure a standard edition account person would just be sitting there like, holy shit, how do you even have stash space? Because, you know, they just want to, they try and turn over their guns as quickly as possible, and they might have a container or two for some special guns, but that's really, there's not that much room for it. So I understand that there'll be people there like that, but if you do have an Edge of Darkness account and you've got half your stash filled of guns that you're never going to use because you're too afraid to use them, then maybe you should either sell them or just bloody well use them. Now, the main reason we have gear fear is the fact that when we go into a raid, there's a very low chance we're going to survive. Now, I think currently I'm sitting around 50% survival, but I have been doing a lot of labs and playing very aggressive, trying to get, say, the 64,000 XP run I did and stuff like that. So, for me, like a 50% survival rate is still, I guess, pretty good as a solo player, but to get in with all my like top tier gear and then die with it, it doesn't really affect me anymore. Now, the easiest way to say is eventually you'll just get over it because you'll play the game long enough. But there are ways to actually start getting yourself more accustomed to using these loadouts. Now, so one of the biggest things I always say is if you're going to take a special gun in, say like an M4 or an M1A or an RSAS or something that's like really, really expensive and fancy for you, I buy 5 of the same loadout. If I can afford it, I'll buy 10. And then I'll have 10 of the exact same loadout. So then if you go into 3 raids and you die all 3 of those raids, but then the 4th, 5th, and 6th raid you survive, well then, hey, you've just started to build up that tolerance and understanding that using these guns, you can survive and have a lot of fun. There are times that you're just really unfortunate, and this is where the casual player base really suffers in Escape from Tarkov, because if you only had, say, 1 hour to play a night, and you did a couple of raids, made some money, bought a really epic loadout, and then you go into a raid, but in the first, say, 10 seconds of the raid, you late spawn in, someone's already got a good position on you, you move outside a doorway or some shit, say on customs, and they're on a high ground, and bam, you've been killed, and you've just lost all that epic gear. I can totally understand the real frustration in that. And so, this is why gear fear really happens. So, that if you have multiple of the same loadout, it might take a little while to save up for it if you're on the poorer side, but there are ways of farming money that are quite like easy these days. So you can work towards getting better loadouts and holding on to a few of them and going in that way. Another method that someone's told me about, and I haven't done it personally, but I think it's a really good idea, is if you're newer to the game, buy say one of the cheaper guns and use that cheaper gun for a few hours, or, you know, like say 10 or 15 raids, and then buy a better gun, like something, say you start off with an SKS and then you move up to the OP SKS and then you move up to the Tapco SKS, or stuff like moving up different tiers of guns and then getting better at using them, so therefore you're more likely to survive with them. I think this is a really good idea, particularly if you're new to the game, to actually go and try all the different guns. You're going to survive a lot more if you use a gun and you're actually better at using that gun than if you're just using a gun for the first time and dying. So getting accustomed to how gun recoil works on certain guns and then the way they fire. Now, semi-autos are pretty shit at the moment because it's tied to your frame rate. So if you click as fast as you can, you're not going to be able to fire as fast as a full auto. But you know, if you could click fast enough and the frames were all perfect, you should be able to shoot a semi-auto gun very quickly. So in saying that, semi-auto guns are at a disadvantage. So if you are looking at using, say, M1As, RSASs, and the like, just be cautious of that you will probably be sitting in a disadvantage, and you're better off probably sitting in a map like, say, Woods, where you get a high frame rate and it's nice and open, so you can actually get those long-range shots off quite quickly. And then saving your full auto for your CQB, which is close quarter battling, situations like inside Shoreline Resort or in the labs. Now, I've purely made this video just to address a lot of the questions I've been getting during my live stream, but hopefully this has been able to help you out in just getting some ideas and methods in coping with gear fear. If you guys have tips and ways that you battle gear fear, and honestly guys, it will just get better over time. You'll realize how quickly gear will just go and come by later on, the longer you play this game. And it's not a very casual friendly game. They've made it more casual friendly, but for now, really, if you play this game, say, an hour a night, you're going to get smacked around a fair bit. So honestly, find some loadouts that are cheap and budget, that are really fun to use. Focus on using them. Get a few of the expensive ones and then use that. Oh, and one more thing before I finish this one up. I would highly recommend finding some other people to play with. If you can go into duos and trios, usually duos is the best because you can actually keep that communication really good. But a trio works really good once you get accustomed to playing with 3 people. If you save your best gear for when you're playing in a trio and you're all using your best gear, you're more likely to survive the raids. And if you don't survive, they can throw them in bushes and stuff, so you get it back from insurance, or you can get them to take it out with them. This is a reason why a lot of people early on in their Tarkov experience will actually play in duos, trios, and squads, because the fact that they're more likely to survive. Multiple reasons, really. The more people you have in your squad, the less people that can possibly be on the server, the more chance that they're going to kill the person that might have killed you, or you kill the enemy that killed them, and obviously they can stash your loot or take it out for you. So there's options there for that. Now, always ensure you loot as well, guys, if you're on a map like custom shoreline, woods, because there's a pretty good chance that even if you do die, people won't be able to get out with it. And yeah. So guys, I'm going to finish this up there. It's a bit of a shorter video, but it's addressing a question that I get asked very often. So guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for future content. I stream on Twitch 6 days a week. Go down to the link below. Give me a follow there. If you've got any questions, hit me up on my live stream or in the comments down below. Be sure to track down some comments there if ways that you combat gear fear. And lastly, I'll see you next time. I said, do you speak my language? He just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich.